everybody. I must say that this is a very interesting assignment this week. Actually, when I read the article by McIntosh, it actually brought me back to a course in nursing evolution that I did a few semesters ago, where we looked at the evolution of nursing as a profession and the oppression of women, being a predominantly female profession, by physicians to control nursing education and the advancement of nursing as a profession. And they talked about, they used the common noun women without distinguishing the struggles of black nurses. And to be honest, black nurses did not have the same treatment as white, even though the treatment of white nurses were not very good. So what I decided to call it was an oppressed group within an oppressed group, because clearly black nurses were segregated after the Jim Crow. Their education was worse than the white nurses. The hospitals in which they had to practice, the conditions were very bad, and they were not accepted into white nursing organizations, which we have now today, the two major organizations, the National League of Nursing and the American Nurses Association. So that was quite interesting to me, because I felt that she did the same thing, even though she opened up the dialogue, and I was happy that she started with the person in the mirror by looking at white privilege. But she initially, from a feminine perspective, started talking about the treatment of women and the privileges of men. But the distinction was not made that it's not really men, it's white men, because black men do not enjoy those privileges that she wrote of in the time that she wrote her article. I also want to say that I agree with the woman in the video that talked about white privilege, where she said that she particularly does not feel it's a privilege that we should say, because it's a privilege that a privilege is given to somebody when you say you've done something really well, so I'm handing you this privilege. But she sees it as what did she call it? She sees it as an immunity, and the system has been set up so that white people have an immunity, and it's by default. And I completely and totally agree with that. I think the reason why there is so much uneasiness and discomfort and lack of wanting to talk about racism and racial issues in this country, particularly when it pertains to black and white issues, is because of our horrible history with slavery in this country. And of course, from that institution, we saw constitutional laws set up in place to keep people of color, particularly black people, ignorant for as long as possible, and providing cheap labor so that the wealth wheel can keep turning. So, nobody wants to talk about it because people feel uncomfortable, people feel guilt. But I feel that in order for us to move forward, there must be dialogue. And sometimes the truth hurts, but we have to have honest dialogue in order to start making changes. I also like Melody's Melody Hobson, when she talks about we have to be color brave. I like that, because being colorblind is like ignoring the problem. So I really like her analogy as well of being color brave, trying to get to know people, just knowing that we're human beings. The only thing that really is different about us is the color of the skin that God gave us. But we are basically the same human behaviors. We do the same things from culture to culture, country to country, race to race. It was funny when she also talked about her experience where she was mistaken for kitchen help. I have had experiences where, while shopping in upscale stores like Macy's or Bloomingdale's, where white women will come to you and asking you questions as if you were a sales associate. So we still have these kinds of things going on, even as a professional. I mean, sometimes I have worked with colleagues, white colleagues, and when my boss is talking about what we've done, she will fail to mention my name unless somebody brings it to her attention that, hey, listen, Sandra was also involved in this project. So we have come a long way. I mean, I live in a gated community, right? And I have attained some educational accolades, but we still have a long way to go. And we still have concerns, especially when quite recently we had the Trayvon Martin and Jordan Davis cases. And for me, as a parent of a black male in this country, I am horrified because it seems like we are stepping backwards. You know, we have a black president, and it hasn't really brought some of the changes that people think it would have brought. It doesn't mean that, oh, all of a sudden there is no racism in this country. I personally think that we need to be careful when we talk about racism versus discrimination, because racism is actually institutions that have been set up in place to keep white majority, white wealth, and to keep people of color in a subservient role where it will be difficult for them to get into the positions of power. You know, so that's my take on racism. I feel most of what we equate to racism is actually prejudice, and we have that everywhere. Well, that's my opinion, and I will see you guys on Blackboard as we continue to discuss. Peace.